What if I told you an ostrich would have survived Pompeii? But as we know, most of the humans around it wouldn't have. It's the same eruption though, the same 5-mile distance from Vesuvius, same 6-hour time window before the killing blow, but the ostrich would actually walk out alive. Today I'm going to prove that to you with the actual numbers and the biology. And by the end of this video, I'll show you why this isn't even really about ostriches at all. It's something that most people get wrong about disasters. And welcome to the channel. My name is Jeremiah Pouncey, and I'm currently a doctorate of veterinary medicine student at Cornell University, and I run this channel through Jeremiah's eyes, so let's get into it. All right, so boom, here's the setup. August 24th, 79 AD, Mount Vesuvius actually starts venting, and by that night, it's putting up a column of pumice and ash that's like miles into the atmosphere. And the city of Pompeii itself sits about 5 miles south of the actual summit of Mount Vesuvius. Now, in all actuality, roughly 11,000 people lived there, and they had between 6 and 18 hours, depending on which historian you ask, before the part of the eruption that actually comes and kills them actually arrives. But in this hypothetical experiment, we're going to have one of the Pompeians have a pet ostrich. All right, so just stick with me here, but Romans definitely kept exotic animals, and ostriches were sometimes imported from North Africa for the Colosseum, so it's not as crazy as it sounds. It's definitely possible. Now, here's what we actually know about ostriches. Their top speed is around 45 miles per hour, and their sustained running speed, though, is about 30 miles per hour, and they can hold that for 30 straight minutes without breaking stride. They're the fastest animal with 2 legs that has ever existed, like stop. And their stride length is about like feet, and just mind you, a human Olympic sprinter's stride length is like feet, if that says anything. So already the question stops being, could it run away? And starts being, how much head start did it actually need? And this exact loop is what I'm going to come back to in a second, because the ostrich isn't trying to fight the actual eruption. It's more so fighting the timeline, because the eruption has different phases. The first phase won't actually kill the ostrich. The second phase also shouldn't. But the third phase kills basically everything that's still in the town. So the question isn't speed versus a volcano. It's more so speed versus the clock of Mount Vesuvius. And I need you to hold on to that because that changes everything. All right, so the Vesuvius eruption had 3 phases, and I want you to pay attention because the numbers are a bit crazy. Now, phase number 1, the Plinian phase. That's a giant column shooting straight up of the pumice and ash that actually rains down on the city for hours. The pumice is light, and most of it doesn't actually kill anybody directly. What it does do, though, is actually collapse some roofs. And most of the casualties actually came from phase 1, the time period of that, dying inside their own homes under their own ceilings. But for an ostrich, it's not inside a house, so the ostrich is fine. So the ostrich has avoided that one, and we're on to the next. Now, phase 2 is a little bit different. The column actually starts to fluctuate because the ash will blot out the sun, and by midday, it's pitch black in Pompeii. Now, Pliny the Younger described it as darker than any night that ever was. And here, kind of the humans have an advantage. They got torches, they got homes, they got organized streets to be able to navigate. And the ostrich is probably panicking because they can't see in the dark. But with that being said, the ostrich does have something that humans do not have. That's legs that can carry them 30 miles per hour and the willingness to use it without a 5-stage family meeting first. But this is the moment most people in Pompeii made the wrong call about. Because they went home, they tried to wait it out, the ash kept falling. And while they were inside waiting, debating whether to leave, the volcano was loading up phase 3. And phase 3 is the part that levels the city. Like column collapses under its own weight, and a wall of superheated gas, ash, and rock all rolls down the side of the mountain at speeds between 100 and 450 miles per hour in temperatures over 500 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's hitting Pompeii roughly 18 hours after the actual eruption began. Now, at 450 miles per hour, the surge is faster than anything that lives, and the ostrich is not outrunning that. Nothing is. But the ostrich isn't trying to outrun the surge. It's trying to be somewhere else when the surge actually gets there, and it had 18 hours of warning. And at 30 miles an hour, an ostrich covers 5 miles in about minutes. The coast is 1.5 miles away. The hills behind the city 6 miles. And if the ostrich starts moving the second the clash column goes up, the second any animal with a survival instinct would have started moving, it is generously minutes from being so far away from the volcano that it's just a story that it tells all the other ostriches that it meets at some point. So yes, mathematically speaking, an ostrich definitely could have outrun Pompeii. But here's the part that's been sitting in my chest since I started writing this. Most of the humans in Pompeii actually could have outrun it too. Like, run the same math on, say, a Roman farmer. Average sustained jogging pace of like miles per hour, 5 miles of safety. That's like a 50-minute jog, and they had 18 hours. Like, the reason most of the casualties at Pompeii died is because they didn't believe the disaster was happening to them. They watched the column climb into the sky and thought, this will just pass, went back to their shops, locked their doors, sent people to go fetch water, and they acted like a normal day was still in progress on a day that was very obviously not normal. So the ostrich has a cognitive advantage over the Roman, and it's not the speed. It's that when an ostrich sees something on fire and shaking and turning the sky black, it doesn't try and negotiate with the situation. It doesn't ask their neighbor what it thinks. It doesn't check the news. It doesn't say, let's see how this develops. It just runs. And that's what actually matters, because the Ostrich beat Pompeii because it left immediately. Like, humans had every advantage, better tools, technically better intelligence, roads, social networks, organized warning. But most of them lost because the gap between knowing something is wrong and then acting like something is actually wrong was just slightly too wide. So we're not faster than the ostriches, but we can be earlier, and that's the only version of speed that saved anybody. So could an ostrich outrun Pompeii? Yes, very easily. It would have made it to the cusp by sundown and been eating bugs by Tuesday. The harder question is if you would have.